Hello there guys, what is going on? Son of Chelsea back here again for another video, and glad to say I was joined by another great guest today to speak about all things Chelsea, a variety of topics. Matisse, who is a returning guest. If you're on Twitter, I'm pretty sure you know who Matisse is. Over the last year, he's grown a really big audience based on his opinions, sharing his videos on Twitter. Really interesting guest, and we always have really good discussions when we speak about Chelsea. So interesting to share that conversation once again. We'll be doing it over a number of days with different clips on different topics. We spoke about the transfer window. The last time me and Matisse spoke, I believe it was back in June. It was before Project Restart had actually got going. So the conclusion of the 1920 season. So we speak about the big transfers for Chelsea this summer, the positives, the negatives of some players still being at the club moving forward, uncertainty over Chelsea, the pressure on Frank Lampard. So many topics. Jorginho was in there as well. So I hope you guys enjoy this conversation. If you do enjoy it, please give the video and all the videos of this conversation series a like, because it helps out the channel as well. But yeah, let's get to it now. Okay, so Matisse, we haven't spoke in a long time, it feels like. It's probably only been a couple months, but considering Chelsea's ridiculous transfer window and the start of the season and how much has happened and changed since then, how have you been and how have you found the summer transfer window, but also the start to this season?
I found it, well, the summer transfer window for incomings has been perfect. Whether they're being personal targets or not for individual fans, I think the fact that the club have addressed every single position that we could have and needed, these weren't really positions where we could get away with not addressing. The goalkeeper, the left back, the centre back, these are like main problems, real big concerns. So it is surprising a bit because I expected it to be done over 2 windows, if I'm honest. The amount of players that have come in, I was like, okay, I'm ready to have half of this come in now, half of it maybe in January or in the next summer, because it's not easy in a COVID market to get all your targets like this. But credit to the club, when it's come to incomings, they haven't even really worried about if we can get rid of the players in that position or anything, which I'm okay with. Because we needed those new players anyway. I would hate to go into next season and feel like we've got weaknesses in our starting 11. Even the bench. I mean, if you have a fully fit Chelsea squad right now, the bench is I don't see anyone on the bench that I don't even like. Do you know what I mean? I see a whole squad of players that I think are capable of doing the business. So it's in terms of options and what we've given ourselves in terms of added leadership with Thiago, adding what Frank wants at left back. That's what he really wanted, was Chilwell to get the athleticism in the team. That's been added, and then obviously the attacking reinforcements are brilliant. We've added 3 attackers. You can't ask for anything more than that, especially to a team that was already very good in attack when you bring Pulisic back from injury and Giroud on form at the end of lockdown. So there's so many options that, injuries, loss of form, everything can be rotated nicely with competition. So it's perfect.
I think the obvious signs last year in terms of improvement were defensively, but of course, with losing like Willian and Pedro, as well, Michy Batshuayi leaving, I think there was a clear need for some attackers in this team. And I'm sure everyone will go, why didn't Chelsea spend more on a goalkeeper? Why didn't Chelsea spend more on a centre-back? If there was one area this summer preceding the transfer window itself, of course, it's very easy to be influenced by the transfers themselves after. Was there one position to you that was like the most important? You were like, if I can only make one signing this summer, this is the area that needs rectifying?
It would probably be the goalkeeper, because that was the area that was so statistically and eye test weak. Like, there was just no coming back for me in terms of the goalkeeper position. We have to get a goalkeeper, and even just an average goalkeeper would have been enough. So I think, whilst I would have wanted other areas, of course, but the goalkeeper was a must, because the goalkeeper is, as they've always said, can save you 10-15 points, and I truly believe that. So when you look at the amount of errors that were being made last season, I think a new goalkeeper makes a massive difference in terms of cross collection for set pieces, just save percentage in general, commanding, maybe even lifting the centre backs somewhat as well, with the confidence and the communication. So centre back was goalkeeper was 100% the main priority for me.
Do you think Mendy will turn out to be a decent signing? Because he was one of those names that wasn't really linked that heavily over the summer. You had the likes of Onana, Pope, of course, loftier ambitions in terms of Oblak and keepers like that. But in terms of Mendy, in terms of him being scouted very heavily, of course, by Petr Cech, what do you think about that signing?
Yeah, I'm more than happy with it, because, like I said, we didn't need a world-class goalkeeper. Of course, we want one, but like I said, the market is not easy to negotiate right now. There's not loads of options out there flying about. I think the club were interested in Dean Henderson. Obviously, to get him out of Man United is not going to be easy at all. And he's clearly a Man United fan who wanted to stay. Donnarumma's been thrown around a few times, but again, that agent, Raiola, is not someone the club want to deal with. So unless he changes agent or is coming towards the end of his contract, which I believe he is, then you can renegotiate there. The club have shown quite clearly this summer they don't want to just throw money around on players that are not their first choice. So if Mendy wasn't, but they just felt like, we have to get him, of course, then Czechs come in and scouted him. I haven't watched him personally too much. Statistically, he's maybe 15% higher safe percentage than Kepa. Of course, you dumb it down to the basics, but his height, his reach is clearly going to be further than Kepa. If you're doing this in boxing, you always look at reach, you always look at these things as well. So, just to dumb it down to the basics, his height alone is going to help us, I'd assume, on cross collection and reaching shots that Kepa maybe couldn't get to in the top corner. Zaha, I go back to last season when he smashed one in the top corner from long range. You hope Mendy gets closer to those. Yeah, from that standpoint, I'm very happy. When Czech recommends someone, I have no complaints. Do you know what I mean? Especially if I haven't seen them. It's not usually the model I'll go with, but if I haven't seen them and Czech recommends them, then that's happy days. And it's 20 million. If he only has to be average, and we've improved drastically. So I'm more than happy with that.
Absolutely. I mean, the stats were just whatever your feelings on, Kepa in terms of the way it went wrong last season, sort of having a go at the defence and the centre-backs themselves. I think I was just looking at some XG stats, and I mean, we were all, I think, pretty close to Liverpool in terms of expected goals conceded. And you think about taking 15 goals out last season, actually, conceding 15 more than expected. If you take 15 goals away from last season, how drastically our season would have been improved. I think it shows you, as you stated, if we just have more average, stats in terms of a keeper, it probably will improve and hopefully reassure that back line. The last time we spoke, it was weird because so much has happened in terms of signings. I think it was just before Werner was confirmed, or just about that time. And I remember you being actually a little bit down on Werner signing him. But more specifically, you were very, excited about Kai Havertz. You felt that was the one player that sort of could really improve us. I mean, in terms of that signing, I've spoken to a lot of Chelsea people recently about Kai because it was such a massive surprise, at least to me, the fact that Chelsea would go out along with all the other investment. What's your take on Kai signing? Because to me, it was such a massive statement by the club once again.
Well, with Havertz, it's just, for me, the dream signing because I just felt like he's got everything. I think his quality is starting to show now very clearly as games go on. Obviously, he got the 2 assists for Germany, recently as well. I just think in terms of, he's very versatile, but in terms of just what we lack in this team, a bit of vision, a little bit of that final pass, he's got goals in him as well. And I think that I can see so much potential for his game to rise with the way that he's built. He's got the low sense of gravity where you can nutmeg a person and go around him and obviously use his skills. But for me as well, if we can get those crosses into the box, I can see his heading ability going way up. It's something that he's done post-lockdown, playing false nine for Bayer Leverkusen, scoring goals with his head. And I think with Reece James crossing, hopefully Chilwell as well, continuing to cross as he did against Palace, then I can see some goals coming aerially as well, which is what we desperately need in this side. It was great for Zuma to get a header. I'm craving for this side to score some more headers. Something that we really, in the last few years, have not been good at all. And it's another weapon that we need to start using. We have height in the team. I said it previously, we have height. It's just a lack of ability in the air. They just don't seem to know how to score headers. So it's something everybody needs to improve on. And just to touch on Werner, my problem with Werner was really, does he want to join, first of all? Because I remember, and I think everyone does, how much he wanted to join Liverpool. He's speaking about it publicly after Champions League games, and he's really pushing it. So I said to myself, listen, good player, but if he doesn't want to join Chelsea, then I don't want that mentality in the team if he doesn't want to be here. But it appears a phone call with Frank Lampard is all it takes really for someone to do a 360, and literally since he's got here, his mentality's been spot on. I am a bit not even worried because now that his mentality is spot on, I do think he's going to get the goals. But it's going to be interesting to see where we play him, because for me, when we were first linked with him, what I said to myself was he's more of a second striker. He's not a lone striker and he's not a winger. He's like, if you put him in a 2 or basically where Mason Mount played at the start of last season alongside Tammy in that left channel, he's going to thrive. But because we don't play with 2 up front, I always said to myself, this is why he wasn't my first choice target, even though I'm delighted he's here now because he's got a great mentality. Where is he going to play? Is he going to play lone forward or is he going to play winger? And regardless of which one he plays, he's going to have to adapt a bit. I think it's going to have to be lone striker for me, because I just feel like Pulisic has been so good on the left up post lockdown. You can't move him. Do you know what I mean? You cannot move him. So I was always excited to see how his link up with Giroud would be, or Tammy, or whoever. But he's not a left winger. You know, he shouldn't be on the touchline out there so much. So yeah, we still have to figure out how we're going to use him and get the best out of him. I think Ziyech complements him very well with that crossfield ball. If we can get that going when he's fit, try and get him in behind. We definitely need to utilise him more in behind, because even in lone striker, I felt like he started well, obviously drawn 2 penalties, but he's also been making runs. If you watch him in isolation and get in the game, don't watch anyone else. He is making those runs, but the players are not always spotting him. So it's very much down to that chemistry building and players learning. Listen, we need to start putting the ball over the top, because he's ready to make those runs. He's not offside. And we're not getting the best out of him in that way. And I'm not too worried now, because you look at Vardy and Aubameyang, they've very much used their pace as well, and they've been very successful in this league. And to be honest, Werner's got better. He's got better build-up play and better link-up play. His link-up play is very good, so he's got more to his game for me than those two in terms of being overall complete. So I think if we can get the best out of him, we shouldn't have a problem.
Do you think the versatility, and this links into Kai's sort of movement and sort of role in the team, sort of at the moment it looks like Lampard's heading in the direction of sort of a 4-2-3-1 with Kai as that sort of number 10, but when you look at Kai's movement in a game, he's not really playing the majority of his time at sort of the position you'd expect him to be at. He's drifting wide, he's drifting a little bit deeper to make those runs from deep. Do you think that sort of movement, that dynamic movement from the likes of Pulisic, Kai and Ziyech behind Werner can help us get around the issue of Werner adapting to a new league?
Yeah, I think so, because now we're not just focusing on one person in terms of the opposition. Are not just going to be like, right, we need to just man mark this guy and take him out of the game. We've always been quite a lopsided team, and even at the end of the last season, Pulisic became the one-man talisman, and everyone would just really just focus on him, because we didn't have the balance on both wings and have some sort of creative force on both sides to say, listen, you've got to deal with both sides for us. And it's been like that since Hazard. What I will say is I think Havertz and Ziyech are going to be very interchangeable. Ziyech is a player that he doesn't hug the touchline. He drifts inside. He cuts in. He very much likes to roam, come centrally, maybe come deep, take up that number 10 position as well. So I think him and Kai could be very interchangeable. That could be very difficult for defenders. And Pulisic just needs to do what he was doing post-lockdown. He was by far our best player, one of the best players in the league on form. And I just think if he could just continue that, continue doing what he was doing, making those runs into the box, his finishing was immaculate as well, I think then we're going to have no problems. Because again, with Pulisic as well, I think him and Werner could be slightly interchangeable as well. I expect them to drift into positions and interchange, because Pulisic was getting used to coming centrally quite often. In terms of his runs and the finishing product, he was ending up quite central, and getting in the box. And Werner, as we already know, is very comfortable in that left hand channel in the half space and drifting as well. So I think those two and the other two can be very interchangeable. It could be quite interesting to watch.